The twin suns of Orion Prime burned high over the galactic training grounds. Hundreds of alien species stood in formation, their banners glowing, their weapons polished. It was the day of the Grand Combat Trials, a contest that decided which race ruled the battlefield. The air shimmered with heat and pride. The elite stood ready, towering beings of power and grace, creatures who had conquered worlds and called themselves gods. And then, from the far end of the field, a small gray ship landed, quiet, unmarked, almost humble. The crowd murmured in confusion. No one recognized its design. No bright symbols, no royal crest, no sound but the hiss of cooling engines. When the door opened, 12 figures stepped out. They were humans. They wore plain armor, scratched and dented, their helmets dull with age. No energy fields, no shimmering cloaks, only metal and sweat. The alien officers laughed. "So this is humanity," one hissed. "The forgotten species from the dust worlds." Another smirked. They must have come to watch, not to fight. But the humans did not speak. They marched in silence, their steps even, their eyes hidden. At their front walked Captain Reed, a tall man with gray streaks in his hair and a scar running across his jaw. He carried no weapon, only a data slate tucked under his arm. He stopped before the alien judges and gave a small, sharp nod. "Team Earth reporting for combat training," he said simply. Laughter echoed through the arena. The alien commander, a creature with scales like molten gold, leaned forward. "You are outnumbered, outmatched, and unevolved," he sneered. Reed met his gaze without blinking. "We came to learn," he replied calmly, "and to show you what we've learned." The first test began at dawn. It was called the Gauntlet, a course so brutal even the strongest warriors failed it. Storm winds, acid rain, and moving platforms that shifted above lava pits. The alien teams charged ahead, shouting, confident. The humans waited quietly for the signal. When the horn sounded, they moved as one. No panic, no shouting. Every step measured, precise. They ran low, shields tight, their formation unbroken. The alien crowds watched as they passed through fire and dust without breaking rhythm. When one stumbled, another caught his arm and pulled him forward. They never left anyone behind. From the control tower, the alien generals leaned closer. "Do they have implants?" one asked. "They move too perfectly." A scientist replied, "No cybernetics detected, their coordination is purely physical." The generals fell silent, their eyes fixed on the screen. Halfway through the course, the storm intensified. Bolts of plasma struck the ground, vaporizing metal. An alien team ahead was wiped out instantly. The humans ducked low, adjusting their pattern in seconds. Reed raised his hand once. They formed a triangle, using their broken shields as a wall. When the storm passed, they moved again. By the time they reached the end, half the alien teams had quit. Only the humans kept going. Covered in burns, bleeding, coughing, but moving. Reed reached the finish line last, but he didn't care. He turned to see every member of his team still standing, all alive. The alien commander descended, his armor gleaming with frustration. "You disobeyed the spirit of the trial," he said. "You were supposed to compete, not protect the weak." Reed looked up slowly. "We train to survive, not to show off," he said. "We fight for each other, not for applause." The arena went silent. Even the crowd stopped whispering. For the first time, the alien elite looked at the humans not with scorn, but with curiosity. They had never seen soldiers move like that. No arrogance, no individual pride, only unity. When night fell, the aliens returned to their quarters, but many could not sleep. They replayed the images of the human formation, how they endured what others could not. One alien general stared out at the twin moons and muttered, "They have no power armor, no advanced biology, and yet, they don't break." Inside their camp, the humans sat in silence around a small light. Reed looked at his soldiers, tired but alive. "You saw them laugh," he said quietly. "They think we're weak." A young soldier smiled. "Then let's keep surprising them." "Sir." Reed nodded. "Tomorrow we'll show them what human training really means." Far above, the alien satellites recorded every moment, Data streams rushed back to the council chambers, and across the galaxy, whispers began to spread. The words echoed from world to world. The humans have returned. The second trial began before dawn. Cold mist rolled across the training ground, hiding the traps and metal walls below. High above, the alien generals watched from their glass towers. They wanted to see the humans break. They wanted proof that flesh and will meant nothing against technology. The announcement echoed across the arena. Endurance trial initiated. 12 hours, no rest, no retreat. The aliens cheered, their voices thundering. Even the ground shook beneath their power, but the humans stood still, helmets down, breathing slow. Captain Reed raised his hand. "Same formation as before," he said quietly. His voice carried calm like steel in water. They moved together, step by step, every motion deliberate, practiced, unshakable. At the first hour, the storm began. Sand mixed with shards of glass swept through the field. Aliens shielded their faces. Their armor whined under the strain. Humans crouched low, backs to the wind. One man's visor cracked, another lost a glove. No one stopped, no one screamed. At the third hour, they were ordered to climb the cliff of fire, a wall of molten rock that shifted every few seconds. The alien teams ahead used flight boosters, wings, or gravity belts. The humans used their hands. Burns covered their palms. Smoke filled the air. Still they climbed, one pulling the other upward. When one slipped, another reached down and refused to let go. The alien observers stared. "Why don't they stop?" one asked. "They'll die," said another. But Captain Reed looked back only once and shouted, "No one dies alone. No one is left behind." By the fifth hour, the course changed again. Now they were trapped in a maze where oxygen thinned every minute. Alien teams collapsed, their filters failing. Humans shared breath through damaged tubes. They moved slower, but their rhythm never broke. The walls glowed red. The sensors beeped, but the heartbeat of humanity kept steady. From the command deck, an alien technician gasped. "Their vitals are stable even under critical stress." The general frowned. "How? They have no genetic upgrades." The technician hesitated. "They're using pain as focus," he said quietly. "They're training their bodies through suffering." At the 8th hour, the humans reached the toxic swamp zone. Acid rain fell like needles, dissolving the surface of their armor. They covered each other's backs with melted plates. A young soldier stumbled. Reed turned and carried him across his shoulders. The others formed a shield around him, moving as one body, one mind, one purpose. From the crowd, the laughter had died. Only silence remained. The alien empress leaned forward, her golden eyes wide. "They keep moving," she whispered. The generals said nothing, their pride dissolving with the storm. At the 10th hour, night fell. The lights of the arena flickered. Every race that entered before them had withdrawn or fallen, but the humans walked forward through darkness, guided by Reed's voice. "Step, breathe, push," he said. "Step, breathe, push." It became a rhythm, a heartbeat that filled the night. When they reached the final checkpoint, they were bleeding, limping, broken. Their armor was black with soot, their hands raw, but every human was still standing. The last gate opened with a deep metallic hiss. The announcer's voice stuttered. "Endurance trial complete. Human team. All survivors." The arena went silent. Then, from the stands, a slow sound began, a single clap. It was one of the alien scientists. Her silver skin shining under the lights, she whispered, "They are not like us." Others followed, the applause spreading until it echoed across the valley. Captain Reed removed his helmet, his face streaked with dirt and sweat. He looked at the alien generals above and said calmly, "We don't train to be stronger than you. We train so we never have to be weaker than ourselves." The Empress stood slowly, her voice carried through the speakers. "Humanity," she said softly, "you are a paradox. Fragile, yet unbreakable." Reed nodded once. "Now you see how we survive," he replied. As the humans left the arena, the aliens remained silent. They watched 12 figures vanish into the mist, the same mist that once hid them from respect. Now it hid legends. That night, across the galaxy, reports spread to every military world. The message was simple, written in bold white code. The humans completed the endurance trial, unassisted. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy's strongest warriors began to train in silence, trying to understand what it meant to endure like a human. Dawn broke over Orion Prime in cold silence. Smoke from the endurance trial still floated above the training fields, but inside the command tower 100 alien eyes were already fixed on glowing screens. Every movement of the human camp was being watched, every breath recorded. They wanted to understand how humans could survive what should have killed them. The greatest minds in the galaxy gathered. Biologists, tacticians, scientists, and generals. They believed numbers could explain everything. Until they met something that refused to fit inside their equations, the human spirit. In the camp below, the humans were awake before sunrise. They didn't rest, they didn't celebrate. They trained again, simple movements, push-ups, stretches, breathing drills. Captain Reed walked among them, his voice calm and steady. Control your pain, control your fear. They can take your body, but not your will. The aliens listened through hidden microphones. Every word sounded like poetry written by scars, an alien scientist whispered. They push beyond exhaustion voluntarily, another replied. It's madness. But a third one, an elder with silver eyes, shook his head. No, it's memory, he said. They train because they remember the times no one came to save them. In the observation chamber, the alien empress arrived. Her golden armor dimmed to black for mourning for her pride. She stood behind the glass and watched the humans move like one heartbeat. They obey him without implants, she said softly. Yes, replied her aide. His control is emotional, not mechanical. The empress stared in silence. So emotion is their command code, she whispered, and loyalty is their weapon. Hours passed. The humans ran the length of the arena until their boots tore. They carried wounded soldiers on their backs. They repaired one another's armor with bare hands. They shared water, split rations, laughed at their pain. One soldier fell mid-run. His legs shaking, another reached down, pulled him up, and shouted, "We finish together or not at all." In the control room, an alien general turned to the scientists. "Do they not fear death?" he asked. The scientist checked his data tablet. Their heart rates spike with adrenaline, not terror, he said. They convert fear into action. The general frowned. Then they are not fearless, they are something worse. He looked down at the screens, eyes narrowing. They are willing. That word spread through the command center like a new kind of weapon. Every culture in the galaxy had known courage, obedience, or programming. But willpower, the choice to keep moving after the body has failed, was something different. It wasn't science. It was faith turned into muscle. Later that night, Captain Reed sat outside the barracks under the 2 moons. He cleaned his cracked armor with slow hands. One of his younger soldiers sat beside him. "Sir," the boy said quietly, "they're watching us." "Aren't they?" Reed smiled without looking up. "Let them watch," he said. "We've got nothing to hide." "But what if they use what they learn against us?" the boy asked. Reed finally looked at him, his eyes tired but kind. "Then we'll train harder," he said. "We always do. High above." The Empress turned off the monitors. She could not bear the sight of their simplicity. It made her remember what her own people had lost once, long ago. The Valar trained for honor, not conquest. Now they trained only for power, she whispered to herself. Perhaps the weak were never them. Perhaps it was us. The next morning, something unexpected happened. Dozens of alien soldiers, young cadets, walked into the human camp. They carried no weapons, only empty notebooks and curious eyes. Captain Reed looked up from his drills. One of them bowed deeply. "Teach us," the alien said. "We want to learn the human way." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Reed nodded slowly. "All right," he said, "but understand something first." He pointed at his chest. "This isn't about muscle, it's about heart." The cadets nodded, unsure but eager. And just like that, humanity's greatest weapon began to spread. Not guns, not ships, but discipline. From the towers, the generals argued. "This is dangerous," one said. "They're infecting our youth." Another replied, "Or saving them." The Empress stood between them, eyes fixed on the field. "Let them continue," she said. Let every warrior in this empire learn what it means to be human. As days passed, the training ground changed. The sounds of laughter mixed with the clash of metal. Alien cadets sweated beside human soldiers. They stumbled, fell, got back up, and learned to push again. The galaxy's strongest species began to see that strength was not born. It was trained. And far beyond Orion Prime in distant worlds, fleets paused to watch the transmissions. Every captain, every general, every soldier saw the same thing: humans training in silence. Surrounded by those who once mocked them. No superweapons, no gods, no miracles, just blood, will, and unity, and across the stars. One phrase began to echo through every broadcast. "They are not the strongest," one alien said, "but they are the last to stop." The day of the final trial arrived beneath a blood-red sky. The air on Orion Prime was heavy with dust and tension. Thousands gathered around the arena carved into the planet's surface. Every screen across the galaxy streamed the event live. The alien elite had come to reclaim their pride. They had seen enough of human endurance. Now they wanted dominance inside the human camp. Captain Reed tightened the straps of his cracked armor. His team stood ready. Silent, focused, heart steady as iron across the field. The galaxy's finest warriors stood gleaming in gold and obsidian. Their armor hummed with plasma. Their blades radiated light. The alien general stepped forward, his voice booming. "This is not training, human. This is war." Reed's voice was calm. "We've trained for that too." The horn sounded. The ground exploded with fire and dust. Aliens charged forward like thunder. Humans moved as one, weaving through the chaos. Every movement planned, every strike paired with defense. Their formation closed tight, shields interlocking like a living wall. One alien warrior swung a molten blade. A human caught it barehanded, twisted, and broke it against his knee. From the control towers, observers gasped. "How are they doing this?" a scientist cried. "They're fighting in complete silence," indeed. There were no war cries, no orders shouted, only breath, rhythm, and instinct. It was like watching storms move with purpose. An alien champion leapt into the air, his wings of plasma spreading wide. He descended with the force of a meteor. The humans raised their shields, knees buckling. The impact cracked the ground beneath them, but they held. The champion's eyes widened in disbelief. No technology, no augmentation. And yet they stood against a god at the third hour. The battlefield turned red with smoke. Both sides were exhausted, but the humans refused to yield. Captain Reed moved through his ranks like a phantom, checking wounds, patching armor, lifting fallen comrades when his communicator buzzed. A medic's voice cracked. "Sir, we're surrounded." Reed looked up at the burning ridge and simply said, "Then we train here." That single phrase echoed through every soldier. They dug in, formed a circle, and fought back. Lasers cut through the dust, blades sparked against bone. Still, the humans moved in rhythm, one breath, one will, one heartbeat. Every time someone fell, another filled the gap. Every time the line wavered, someone shouted, "Hold!" And they did. From the royal balcony, the Empress watched in silence. Her generals stood behind her, pale and wordless. She whispered, "Why do they keep standing?" Her advisor answered, trembling, "Because they've already accepted death." She turned toward him sharply. "Then they are undefeatable." In the smoke, Reed's visor shattered. Blood streaked his face. He tore off the broken piece and smiled through the chaos. A massive alien beast roared before him. Swinging claws of energy, Reed ducked low, drove his blade upward, and the monster fell. He stumbled, gasping. A soldier beside him offered support. Reed shook his head. "Save your strength," he said. "The galaxy is still watching." And indeed it was, across star systems, across fleets and colonies. Billions watched the feed in stunned silence. They saw not superhumans, but ordinary men and women refusing to fall. Each heartbeat sent a message louder than any weapon. This is how we train, this is how we fight, this is how we survive. At the 6th hour, the alien forces retreated. The humans stood in the burning dust. Armor cracked, eyes fierce, the arena announcer's voice shook. Combat trial concluded. Human unit, operational. All members alive. The crowds erupted, not with cheers, but with awe. The Empress herself descended from her throne and stepped into the battlefield. Every alien bowed as she walked past. She stopped before Captain Reed and looked into his blood-streaked eyes. "For centuries we have called ourselves warriors," she said. "But today, The galaxy has met the definition of strength. Reed gave a tired half-smile. Strength isn't the point, he said quietly. Discipline is. The Empress bowed her head. Then from this day forward, every soldier of the Empire will learn from humans. Her words echoed through the arena like a vow, and across the galaxy the title spread again, rewritten in fire and memory. The galaxy's strongest warriors fell silent as they watched humans train. When the humans left the field, the silence remained, not of defeat but of realization, that perhaps the true weapon of humanity was never technology or power. It was the refusal to stop, even when there was nothing left to win. Weeks passed after the trials, but the silence of that day still echoed across the galaxy. Every planet, every fleet, every academy replayed the footage of the humans standing in the dust. They had no gods, no miracles, only discipline, unity and will, and somehow, that was enough to humble empires on Orion Prime. The alien Empress stood before her council. The great hall was filled with warriors and scholars from 100 worlds. All waited for her decree. She raised her hand, her golden eyes reflecting the memory of the battlefield. Strength, she said slowly, is not in power. It is in control. And the humans have shown us what control truly means. From that day forward, the Galactic Alliance changed its training code. The human doctrine was added to every military syllabus. It taught not weapons or tactics, but endurance, patience, and unity. Train not to conquer, the first line read, but to outlast. And everywhere those words were written, a quiet respect followed in the human camp. Captain Reed stood alone at dawn. The training field lay empty, the wind brushing over broken helmets and scarred ground. His soldiers were resting finally. He looked up at the twin suns rising and smiled faintly. "We did it," he whispered. Behind him, the alien Empress approached in simple robes. No guards, no crown. "You changed us," she said softly. Reed shook his head. "No," he replied. "We reminded you." She looked at him with curiosity. "Reminded us of what?" "That the strongest warrior isn't the one who wins," Reed said quietly. "It's the one who keeps getting back up." News spread faster than light. Across distant colonies, alien children began mimicking the human drills. They ran in circles under their suns, chanting words they barely understood. "Breathe, step, push," they said, and their parents watched, realizing this was how humanity rebuilt itself again and again. Months later, a monument was built on Orion Prime. At its center stood 12 statues, one for each human who had fought that day, their faces unmasked, scarred, and calm. At the base were carved simple words. They trained when others rested. They stood when others fell. They were human. One evening, Captain Reed returned to the monument alone. He placed his hand on the cold stone. Behind him stood young cadets, alien and human, training together for the first time. Their voices rose in rhythm. Their hearts moved in sync. And for the first time in history, the galaxy trained as one. High above, the Empress watched from her balcony. Beside her, her advisor asked, "Do you think they will surpass us one day?" She smiled faintly, her eyes glowing in the starlight. "They already have, far beyond the stars." Old transmissions drifted through forgotten channels, and in every broadcast one phrase kept repeating. The galaxy's strongest warriors fell silent as they watched humans train. Not because of fear, but because they finally understood that the human weapon was never the blade, the armor, or the war. It was the will to keep going when no one else could. The legend of humanity spread like light across the void. And long after Captain Reed and his team were gone, every soldier who took the first step onto a battlefield remembered their story. Every warrior who faced defeat whispered the same words. Step, breathe, push, and the galaxy kept training. Not to destroy, but to endure, because somewhere in the stars, the spirit of humanity was still watching, still teaching, still unbroken.